I grew up in a family obsessed with appearances, not with substance, not with character, not with genuine connection or love or any of the things that actually make a family worth being part of. No, my family cared about appearances. Every birthday party had to be Instagram perfect. Every holiday gathering required designer outfits and expensive wine that nobody actually enjoyed, but everyone pretended to love because it had the right label. My mother would spend hours, literal hours, arranging cheese boards just so, photographing them from 12 different angles before anyone was allowed to eat. My father bought cars we couldn't quite afford because the neighbors had upgraded theirs, and he couldn't stand the thought of looking like he was falling behind. Everything was a performance. Everything was for show. The house we lived in was just slightly beyond our means. The vacations we took were to places that sounded impressive when mentioned at cocktail parties. The clothes, the watches, the gadgets, all chosen not for quality or personal preference, but for the brand recognition they carried. I remember being 8 years old and my mother making me change my shirt 3 times before we went to my cousin's birthday party. Not because the first 2 shirts were dirty or inappropriate, because they were from Target, and she'd decided that wouldn't reflect well on us. I ended up in an uncomfortable button-down that I hated, but at least it had the right logo. That was my childhood in a nutshell. Uncomfortable, but acceptably branded. My brother Marcus was the golden child. Everything he did was celebrated, amplified, broadcast to anyone who would listen. When he got into a decent state university, not even a top-tier school, just a solid state university, you'd think he'd been accepted to Harvard from the way my parents threw a party. They rented out a restaurant's private room, invited 50 people, had a custom cake made with the school logo. Marcus gave a speech about his bright future. My father cried actual tears of pride. When I got into the same university 2 years later, my mother said, "Oh, that's nice," and went back to scrolling through her phone. The disparity didn't bother me as much as it probably should have. I'd learned early on that I wasn't going to win the favorite child competition, so I stopped competing. I focused on my own interests, my own path, my own definition of success. That's where the real problem started. Marcus dated girls who looked good in photos. He chose a major in business marketing because it sounded successful, even though he had no real aptitude for it. He got a job at a friend's father's company and talked about it like he'd been recruited by Google. He bought clothes he couldn't afford and dated a girl whose father owned a car dealership, which my parents treated like he'd secured a royal marriage alliance. I, on the other hand, chose computer science because I was genuinely interested in it. I wore jeans and plain t-shirts because they were comfortable and practical. I drove a used Honda Civic that was reliable and fuel efficient. I dated a girl I actually liked who happened to be a kindergarten teacher, which my mother somehow found embarrassing. "A teacher?" she'd said when I brought her to a family dinner. "That's sweet. Very humble." The word humble from my mother's mouth was not a compliment. It was a condemnation. After college, I got a job at a tech startup. The pay was decent, not amazing, but decent, and the work was interesting. I was learning constantly, building real skills, working on projects that mattered. I was genuinely happy with my career trajectory. My family was horrified. "A startup?" my father said, his face twisted with disappointment. "Those things fail all the time. Why didn't you go for something more stable, something more prestigious?" "Because I like what I'm doing," I said simply. "Nobody cares if you like it," he replied. "They care if it's impressive." That sentence hung in the air between us. Nobody cares if you like it. They care if it's impressive. That was the entire family philosophy in one brutal statement. Marcus, meanwhile, had gotten promoted to regional marketing coordinator at his friend's father's company. The title sounded much more impressive than the actual job, which seemed to mostly involve organizing corporate golf outings and managing social media accounts. But my parents treated it like he'd become CEO of a Fortune 500 company. "Your brother is really going places," my mother told me at least once a month. "You could learn something from him about professional presentation." Professional presentation, not professional competence, not professional growth. Presentation. I tried not to let it bother me. I told myself that I was the secure one, the one who didn't need external validation, the one who was comfortable in his own skin. But it did bother me. Of course it did. They were my family. Some part of me still wanted them to be proud of me, even though I knew their standards were hollow and meaningless. Then Marcus started dating Vanessa. Vanessa was, well, she was exactly what my family wanted. Beautiful in a conventional magazine cover way. Always impeccably dressed. Her father owned a regional chain of car dealerships, which meant she had money and connections. She spoke confidently about topics she knew nothing about. She laughed at the right moments. She posed perfectly for photos. My mother loved her immediately. Finally, she said, after meeting Vanessa for the first time, someone in this family is marrying up. The implication was clear. I, with my kindergarten teacher girlfriend and my startup job and my used Honda Civic, was most certainly not marrying up. I was, in their estimation, barely marrying at all. Marcus proposed to Vanessa at an expensive restaurant with a flash mob, a string quartet, and a professional photographer capturing every moment. Within an hour, the photos were on Instagram with perfectly crafted captions about soulmates and forever and true love, conquering all. The engagement photos went semi-viral in our social circles. Friends shared them. Family members commented effusively. My mother printed the best ones and framed them in the living room like they were works of art. I congratulated Marcus genuinely when I saw him next. Whatever my feelings about the performative nature of his relationship, I assumed he cared about Vanessa and wanted to build a life with her. I was happy for him in that abstract way you're happy for siblings when good things happen to them. I also assumed, naturally, that I would be invited to the wedding, because I'm his brother, his only sibling. Whatever tensions existed in our family, we were still family. That had to count for something, right? Wrong. The engagement period was a 6-month production. Every detail of the wedding was discussed, debated, and documented online. The venue selection process alone took 2 months and involved site visits to 7 different locations. My mother provided running commentary on social media about each option. Too rustic. Not elegant enough. Perfect lighting, but wrong vibe. They settled on a vineyard 2 hours outside the city. A beautiful location with rolling hills, perfect for photos. The reception would be in a renovated barn that had been transformed into an upscale event space with chandeliers and hardwood floors and floor-to-ceiling windows. Save the date cards went out 3 months before the wedding. Elegant cardstock with gold foil lettering. I didn't receive one. I assumed it was an oversight. My mother had probably just forgotten to add me to the list. It happens. 2 months before the wedding, formal invitations went out. Thick, cream-colored envelopes with calligraphy addressing. I knew they'd gone out because Marcus posted about it online, and friends started commenting about how excited they were to attend. I still hadn't received anything. I called my mother. "Hey, I just wanted to check. Did you send my invitation to my apartment address or to my old address? I want to make sure I didn't miss it." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Too long. The kind of pause that tells you something is very wrong before anyone says a word. "Oh," she finally said. "Well, about that." My stomach dropped. About what? The invitations. You see, Marcus and Vanessa are trying to keep the wedding very intimate, very curated. They're being very selective about the guest list. "Okay," I said slowly. "How selective? How many people are going?" "About 200, she said quickly. 200 people. Intimate and curated. And I'm not one of those 200 people? "It's not personal," she said, but her voice was strained. "They just want a certain atmosphere, a certain aesthetic." What does that even mean? "Look, I don't want to get into this over the phone. Can we meet for coffee?" "No," I said, my voice harder than I intended. "Tell me now, why am I not invited to my own brother's wedding?" Another long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end, could practically feel her trying to figure out how to phrase this in a way that wouldn't sound as bad as it actually was. She couldn't. "They want everyone there to reflect a certain level of success," she finally said. "A certain image, and right now, with your job situation and your car and your general lifestyle choices," she trailed off, but she didn't need to finish. The message was crystal clear. "They think I'll make them look poor," I said flatly. "Nobody said that." "You just said it. You said I don't reflect the right level of success. That's the same thing." "You're twisting my words." "Am I? So I'm invited?" Silence. "That's what I thought," I said quietly. "Please don't make this difficult," she said, and now she sounded irritated, like I was the one being unreasonable. "This is their day, their special day. They get to decide who attends. And they decided their own brother isn't good enough. They decided the guest list needed to be carefully managed. Your name came up, and there were concerns, and after discussion, they felt it was better to keep things simple." "Who had concerns?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "It was a mutual decision," she said, which meant Marcus had decided and everyone else had gone along with it. "Did you stand up for me? Did you tell them this was wrong?" "I'm in a difficult position," she said defensively. "I'm the mother of the groom. I can't tell them how to plan their own wedding. But you can tell me I'm not good enough to attend." "That's not what I said." "It's exactly what you said." My hands were shaking. I realized I was gripping my phone so hard it hurt. I want to hear it from Marcus. I want him to tell me directly. I don't think that's a good idea. He's very stressed with wedding planning. I don't care. Give me his number or I'm showing up at the wedding anyway. That got her attention. You wouldn't. Try me. She gave me his number. Well, she reminded me of the number I already had, since he was my brother and I'd had his contact information for my entire adult life, but she said it like she was doing me a favor. I called Marcus immediately. He answered on the third ring, sounding distracted. Hey, what's up? I'm kind of busy right now. Am I invited to your wedding? The line went quiet. I could hear background noise, Vanessa saying something, music playing, the sounds of normal life continuing while my world narrowed to this single question. Mom talked to you, he finally said. Yeah, but I want to hear it from you. Am I invited? He sighed, a long, dramatic sigh, like I was inconveniencing him by asking whether I could attend his wedding. Listen, it's complicated. It's really not. It's a yes or no question. Vanessa and I have been working really hard to create a specific atmosphere for this wedding. We want everything to be perfect. We want everyone who attends to fit the vision we have for our special day. And I don't fit that vision. You have to understand, we're inviting Vanessa's father's business partners, important people, people with money and influence. The photos from this wedding are going to be everywhere. We need everyone to look appropriate. Appropriate, I repeated. What about me isn't appropriate? Come on, don't make me say it. No, please, say it. I want to hear exactly why I'm not appropriate for your wedding. Another long pause. Then, quietly, but with enough edge that I knew he meant it, you drive a 10-year-old Honda. You work at a startup that nobody's heard of. You dress like you're still in college. You don't even own a decent watch. How am I supposed to explain you to Vanessa's family? To her father's colleagues? The words hit like physical blows, each one landing with precision, exposing exactly how little he thought of me. So, I make you look poor, I said. I didn't say that. You just did. You said I'm not good enough to be seen with, that my presence would embarrass you. You're putting words in my mouth. Am I? So you're saying I am invited? Silence. That's what I thought, I said, echoing my earlier conversation with our mother. Look, this isn't personal. It's literally the most personal thing you could possibly do. You're excluding your only brother from your wedding because you're ashamed of him. I'm not ashamed. Then invite me. I can't. Why not? Because Vanessa already finalized the seating chart. There it was. Not because I realized I was being cruel. Not because you're right and this is wrong. But because the seating chart was already done, and changing it would be inconvenient. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was such an absurd reason, so perfectly encapsulating of everything wrong with them. You're uninviting your brother because of a seating chart. You're not uninvited. You were never invited. There's a difference. The distinction didn't make me feel better. Got it, I said. Message received, loud and clear. Don't be like this, he said, and now he sounded annoyed. You're making this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. My brother doesn't want me at his wedding. How big of a deal should it be? I don't have time for this drama. The wedding is in 6 weeks, and I have 1,000 things to do. If you can't be supportive, then just stay out of it. Don't worry, I said quietly. I will definitely stay out of it. I hung up. I sat in my apartment for a long time after that call, staring at nothing. The humiliation was physical. It sat in my chest like a stone, heavy and cold and undeniable. My own family, my parents, my only brother, had decided I wasn't good enough, wasn't presentable enough, would make them look bad simply by existing in their space. Over the next 6 weeks, I watched from a distance as wedding preparations reached a fever pitch online. My mother posted constantly about dress fittings and cake tastings and flower arrangements. Marcus and Vanessa shared countdown posts. Friends commented excitedly about their outfits and travel plans. I saw the guest list posts, saw people checking in at their hotels, saw the rehearsal dinner photos, saw everything except an invitation with my name on it. The day of the wedding arrived. I didn't leave my apartment. I ordered takeout and tried to work, but I couldn't focus. I kept checking social media, torturing myself with real-time updates from the event I'd been excluded from. The ceremony photos appeared first. The vineyard looked beautiful, golden hour light streaming through the vines. Vanessa in a spectacular wedding dress. Marcus in a perfectly tailored tuxedo. Both families looking elegant and happy and perfect. Then the reception photos started flooding in. The renovated barn looked stunning. Long tables with white linens and elaborate floral centerpieces. A band playing on a small stage, a dance floor already crowded with celebrating guests, everyone dressed impeccably, raising glasses, laughing, dancing, creating memories. And then I saw it. One photo in particular that stopped me cold. It was a shot of the family table. My parents looking proud and happy. Some aunts and uncles. Vanessa's parents. Various family members I recognized. And one empty chair. Someone had been seated at that table, but had apparently stepped away when the photo was taken. Or maybe they'd canceled last minute and the place setting hadn't been removed yet. But there was a chair, pulled out slightly with a full place setting in front of it. A chair that could have been mine. Should have been mine. I saved that photo. I don't know why. Maybe as motivation, maybe as a reminder. Maybe because I needed physical proof that this had really happened, that my family had really excluded me so thoroughly and thought so little of it. That night, I made a decision. I was done. Done trying to earn their approval. Done apologizing for not meeting their arbitrary standards of success. Done being ashamed of a life I'd actually chosen instead of performing a life that looked good in photos. If they wanted to write me off as an embarrassment, fine. I'd show them what embarrassment really looked like. But first, I'd have to build something they couldn't ignore. The Monday after the wedding I wasn't invited to, something in me shifted. At TechFlow Solutions, I'd always done good work, but never more than necessary. That ended. I stayed late, learned new frameworks, took the projects everyone avoided, and pushed myself until I became indispensable. Within months, I was leading a team. Within 6, I was a senior developer with a raise. My manager said I was the most improved employee she'd ever seen, but I knew even that wasn't enough. No matter how high I climbed, I would always be building someone else's dream. So quietly, after hours, I began building my own. I saw a gap in business analytics software. Enterprise tools were overpriced and bloated. Free tools were weak and couldn't scale. Small businesses were stuck. I believed I could fix that. 12 months after the infamous wedding call, I quit my job. Predictably, my family panicked. My father called immediately, furious that I'd thrown away a stable job for a startup dream. My mother cried and asked what she was supposed to tell people. Apparently, my career existed mainly for her social image. When I reminded her she'd excluded me from the wedding, she hung up. Marcus didn't call at all, so I built alone. The first 3 months were brutal. 16-hour days, ramen dinners, my apartment turning into a cramped office. I taught myself every skill I didn't have. Design, back-end, sales, customer support. Then built a terrible first version of the product and threw half of it away. Money drained faster than expected, and by month 4 I was eating once a day. But I kept going. I rebuilt the software around 3 core features: clean visualization, predictive analytics, automated reports. I gave it free to 5 small businesses. Only one responded, Sandra, a marketing agency owner drowning in data. She loved it. She referred others. Slowly, clients trickled in. By month 6, I had 10 paying customers. By month 9, 25 and enough revenue to hire my first developer. By the end of year 1, 40 clients, 3 employees, a small warehouse office. Momentum. Year 2 brought real growth. Word of mouth, inbound leads, my first VC deal. Not amazing terms, but enough to scale. We ended the year with 80 clients and 15 employees. Year 3 exploded. A major tech publication featured us. Traffic surged, demo requests poured in, and we expanded the team and office. By year's end, 120 clients, 35 employees, revenue nearing 8 figures. Year 4, mainstream recognition. Enterprise contracts, speaking invitations, awards, interviews, and leadership expansion. Revenue hit solid 8 figures. Year 5, consolidation. Experienced executives joined, a bigger office opened, and we created our annual company gala, a symbol of our arrival as a serious industry player. The first gala was modest, the second became one of the region's top tech events, and through all 6 years, my family said nothing. No congratulations, no calls, no acknowledgement. Their silence became its own kind of fuel. Every achievement felt like proof they'd been wrong to dismiss me. Every award felt like a rebuttal to Marcus telling me I'd make him look poor. Then, at the beginning of year 6, just when I thought I'd close the door on them forever, everything changed. My father had run Thompson Construction for 32 years. It was a steady regional company. Commercial builds, retail spaces, small industrial projects. Not glamorous, but enough to support our family and give my parents the lifestyle they loved to show off. I'd always suspected the company's success came more from timing than talent. He'd launched during a construction boom, networked well, talked big, and rode the wave for decades. But he was terrible with money. He overspent on equipment, underbid contracts, overhired during busy seasons, refused to downsize, and made ego-driven decisions instead of analytical ones. My mother only encouraged it. She loved the image, the bragging rights, the illusion of prestige, and Marcus had always been their anointed heir, though he never actually joined the business. His cushy marketing job paid better, and he had no interest in inheriting a sinking ship he didn't know how to run. Still, the company limped along until one project finally cracked the foundation. My father aggressively bid on a major commercial development, convinced he could make the numbers work. Then material prices spiked. The client demanded costly changes, inspectors flagged violations, subcontractors inflated invoices. What was supposed to earn $500,000 ended up losing roughly $1 million. Instead of cutting losses, he doubled down. He pulled money from other projects, delayed supplier payments, took out more loans, and reshuffled crews, which pushed every other job behind schedule. Clients threatened penalties. Suppliers demanded cash up front. Word spread quickly. Thompson Construction was in trouble. Within 6 months, they were drowning. Within 8, the phones had stopped ringing. By month 10, the company was effectively dead. Millions in debt, employees quitting, equipment repossessed, the office lease in default, and bankruptcy inevitable. My parents' finances collapsed with it. They had no savings, no retirement, no cushion. The house had been refinanced repeatedly. They'd lived paycheck to paycheck while pretending to be wealthy. Suddenly they were facing foreclosure, losing their cars, and possibly lawsuits. I learned all of this through the industry grapevine, not from them. I waited for them to reach out. Pride kept them silent at first, but desperation eventually overwhelms ego. The first message came from my mother. "We need to talk. It's important. Family matter." A text. After 6 years of ignoring me, I let it sit unread for 24 hours. Next came my father's email. He framed their crisis as an investment opportunity, unable to admit he needed help. He wanted my money, but couldn't bring himself to say the words. I ignored him too. Finally, Marcus wrote, and his message was the most honest. Dad's company was gone. They were losing everything. "You're the only one doing well. You have to step in." Not please, not we're sorry, not we know we treated you horribly, just you owe us. I reread their messages for 3 days. I cycled through every emotion, rage, pity, bitterness, a flicker of guilt. But underneath everything was a cold, steady truth. They had humiliated me publicly. They had erased me from the family. They had left me out for 6 years until they needed money. If I responded, it couldn't be quiet. Their insult had been public. The response needed to match the scale. Not revenge out of anger, revenge out of principle. And that's when the idea hit me. Our 6th annual company gala was scheduled for November, just 3 months away. Planning was already well underway. We'd booked the Grand Ballroom at the Westmont Hotel, the nicest venue in the city, 300 guests, 5-course dinner prepared by a acclaimed chef, live band, awards ceremony, the works. The theme for this year was Rising Above, focused on resilience, perseverance, and overcoming challenges. We were planning to highlight employees who'd faced significant obstacles and succeeded anyway. It was meant to be inspirational, motivational. I realized it could be something else entirely. I called my executive assistant, Sarah, into my office. We'd worked together for 4 years. She was sharp, discreet, and one of the few people who knew that I had a complicated relationship with my family, though she didn't know the details. "I need you to send formal invitations to my family," I said, writing down names and addresses. My parents, my brother, and his wife. 4 people total. She looked surprised. In 4 years, I'd never mentioned family attending any company event. "Okay, any specific instructions?" "Use the premium invitation package. Best cardstock, hand calligraphy, make them look extremely important and exclusive." "Got it. Anything else?" "Include a personal note on each one, something like, 'After reflection, I've realized how important family is. I would be honored if you would attend as my personal guests. You'll be seated at a VIP table with the best view in the house.'" Sarah wrote this down, then looked up at me carefully. "This sounds lovely, but I have to ask, is there something I should know about?" "What do you mean?" "You're being very specific about details you normally don't care about, and you have a look on your face that I've seen before when you're planning something strategic." I smiled slightly. "Let's just say I'm working on closure." "Closure," she repeated. "That's an interesting word choice. Just send the invitations, trust me." "I always do. That's why I'm asking what I'm trusting you with." I leaned back in my chair. "How well do you know the layout for the gala?" Very well, I've been coordinating with the venue for months. The VIP table we're planning, the one front and center in front of the stage. Yes? That's where they'll sit. Your family. Yes? And this is a good thing? It will be memorable. She studied my face for a long moment. All right, I'll send the invitations today. Premium package, personal notes, VIP table. Anything else? Make sure the invitations get delivered by courier. I want them to feel special, important. Consider it done. The invitations went out the next afternoon, thick cream-colored envelopes with elegant calligraphy, inside embossed cards with gold edging announcing the 6th annual gala. The personal notes were handwritten on matching stationery, my signature at the bottom. My mother called within 2 hours of receiving hers. Are these really from you? She sounded stunned. They are. You want us to come to your company event? I do. It's time to move past old disagreements. Family should support each other. There was a long pause. I could practically hear her brain working, trying to figure out what this meant, what my angle was. That's very mature of you, she finally said. I've been thinking about what Marcus said, about families sticking together, about how we should support each other through difficult times. Another pause, longer this time. So, you know about the situation. I know Dad's business is struggling. Struggling is putting it mildly, she said, and for the first time I heard real fear in her voice. We're losing everything. The house, the cars. Your father's having health problems from the stress. I don't know what we're going to do. I let the silence stretch out. But if you're reaching out, she continued hopefully, if you're inviting us to your event, maybe there's a chance we can talk about possibilities, solutions, family helping family. We can definitely talk at the gala, I said carefully. I'm planning to make an announcement during the awards ceremony. I think you'll want to be there for it. What kind of announcement? You'll have to wait and see, but I promise it will be significant. I could hear her breathing quicken. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying you should come to the gala. All of you. Wear something nice. It's black tie. Of course it is, she said, and I could hear her mind already planning outfits. We'll be there, all of us. Thank you for this. Thank you for being the bigger person. The bigger person. Right. Marcus called next, sounding cautiously optimistic. Hey, I got your invitation. This is great, really great. I'm glad we're moving past everything. Water under the bridge, I said easily. So this announcement you mentioned to Mom, is it what we're hoping? What are you hoping? You know, help with Dad's situation, investment, loan, bailout, whatever form it takes. I told them you'd come through, you're successful now, you understand family obligations. Do I? Of course. You're a good guy. I know we've had our differences, but family is family. Blood is thicker than water and all that. That's true. Family is family. So we can count on you? You can count on me to make an announcement that you'll all want to hear. Perfect. That's perfect. This is going to save them. You're saving all of us. I won't forget this. I won't either, I said honestly. Should we talk details before the gala? Numbers, timeline, that kind of thing? No need. Everything will be explained at the event. Just make sure you're all there. We'll be there. Black tie, you said? Yes. Obviously, we know how to dress appropriately, he said, and I heard the old condescension creeping back into his voice. The old Marcus, assuming superiority, certain of his place in the world. Obviously, I agreed. My father called last, 2 days after receiving the invitation. He sounded tired, older than I remembered. Your mother tells me you're planning to help us, he said without preamble. I'm planning to address the situation at my company gala. Why wait? Why not just tell us now what you're thinking? Because this is how I want to do it. This is a game to you? Not a game, a statement. What does that mean? It means you should come to the gala and find out. He was quiet for a moment. I don't like games. I don't either, but I do like events where everyone can see what's happening. Transparency, honesty, public acknowledgement. You want public acknowledgement for helping your parents? I want public acknowledgement, yes. Fine, whatever. We'll be there. We'll smile and clap and let you have your moment. As long as the help is real, I don't care how you frame it. The help will be very real, I promised, just not the kind he was imagining. Over the next few weeks, I heard through mutual acquaintances that my family was telling everyone about the upcoming rescue, about how their successful son was coming through for them, about how family sticks together in hard times, about how they'd be attending his fancy company gala where he'd be making a big announcement. They were already spending money they didn't have, planning a future based on assumptions they'd made, living in a fantasy where everything would be fixed and they could go back to their old lives. Marcus updated his LinkedIn profile to mention exploring new investment opportunities. My mother started posting on social media again after weeks of silence, vague updates about light at the end of the tunnel and believing in family. They were so certain, so convinced that I'd be their savior, that despite everything that had happened between us, despite 6 years of silence and exclusion, I would step in and rescue them because that's what family does. They were half right. I would make a statement about family at the gala, just not the one they were expecting. The next 3 months were consumed with work and careful planning. The gala had to be perfect. Every detail mattered, not just for the company's reputation, but for what I was about to do. I worked directly with the AV team on lighting design. We ran multiple test runs of the spotlight cues. I wanted exact precision, no room for error. I personally coordinated with venue security on specific protocols, briefed them on potential scenarios, made sure they understood their role. I had the table assignments printed, reviewed, and reprinted multiple times until they were exactly right. Sarah noticed I was micromanaging details I normally delegated entirely to her. "You're very invested in this year's event," she observed during one of our planning sessions. "It's our 6th anniversary. Feels significant." "Is it about your family being there?" "Partly." "Should I be worried?" "About what?" "About whatever you're planning. You have a look." "What look?" "The look you get when you're about to do something that will either be brilliant or catastrophic." I smiled. "It'll be brilliant." "For who?" "For me. Possibly for workplace schadenfreude enthusiasts. Not so much for my family." She set down her tablet and looked at me seriously. "Talk to me. What are you actually doing?" I hesitated, then decided she deserved to know. She'd been loyal for years, and she'd be managing fallout if there was any. "You know they excluded me from my brother's wedding 6 years ago." "You mentioned it once?" "They excluded me because they thought I made them look poor. I wasn't successful enough, presentable enough, good enough for their guest list." "That's horrible." "It was. And now their business has collapsed and they think I'm going to rescue them. They've been telling everyone that I'm making a big announcement at the gala about helping them." "Are you?" "Oh, yes. I'm making an announcement." Understanding dawned on her face. "Oh. Oh, no. Oh, yes. You're going to publicly acknowledge their role in my life." "Yes." This could blow back on the company. "It won't. If anything, it reinforces our values. Authenticity over performance, substance over appearance, standing up for yourself." "Or it could look like you're using company resources for personal revenge?" "It could," I admitted, "but I don't think it will. I think people will understand." She thought about this. "What exactly are you planning?" I walked her through it. The spotlights, the screen, the announcement, everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "That's brutal," she finally said. "Yes." "They're going to be humiliated." "Yes." "In front of 300 people." "Yes." "Does that make you feel good?" "Ask me after it happens." "I'm asking now." I considered the question honestly. I don't know if it will make me feel good, but it will make me feel finished, like I've closed a chapter, like I've said what I needed to say in the way it needed to be said. Publicly. "They humiliated me publicly. This is proportional." She nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll make sure everything is coordinated perfectly." "Thank you. But after this, maybe consider therapy." I laughed despite myself. "Maybe." 3 days before the gala, my mother called again. "We're all very excited for tomorrow night," she said. "Your father's been practicing what he wants to say." "Say about what?" "About the help you're providing, about thanking you publicly. He wants to do it right, show proper gratitude." My jaw clenched. Of course he did. Turn my moment into his moment. Make it about him. "Mom, I need you to listen very carefully. When I'm on stage during the awards ceremony, I need everyone in the audience to stay seated and quiet. No interruptions whatsoever." "Well, yes, but your father just wants to—" "No, absolutely not. No interruptions, no impromptu speeches, no taking the microphone. If anyone tries, security will remove them. I'm not joking." Silence. Then, "That seems harsh. It's my event, my company, my announcement. I've planned everything precisely and I need it to go exactly as designed." "Of course, but—" "No buts. I'm serious, Mom. Tell Dad and Marcus. If anyone interrupts or tries to take over, they'll be escorted out immediately. This is non-negotiable." "You sound very intense about this." "I'm serious about professionalism. This is a business event with major clients and partners. It's not a family reunion." "We understand," she said, sounding hurt. We'll be on our best behavior. Good. The night before the gala, I barely slept. I ran through everything in my mind hundreds of times. Questioned whether I was really going to do this, whether it was too cruel, too public, too permanent, whether I'd regret it. Then I pulled up that photo from Marcus's wedding, the empty chair, the family table where I should have been but wasn't. I saved it to my phone years ago and never deleted it. I looked at it for a long time, then I slept fine. The ballroom at the Westmont Hotel looked absolutely spectacular. 6 crystal chandeliers cast warm, elegant light across 30 round tables dressed in white linens with gold accents. Each table had elaborate centerpieces, white orchids and roses arranged around pillar candles that flickered softly. The stage at the front of the room was professionally lit, with a podium center stage and our company logo displayed on massive screens on either side. A string quartet played Vivaldi as guests arrived in tuxedos and evening gowns. Everything sparkled. The chandeliers, the glassware, the jewelry, the polished floors. It looked like a scene from a movie. It looked expensive and impressive and exactly right. I stood near the entrance in my custom-tailored Tom Ford tuxedo, greeting guests as they arrived, shaking hands, accepting congratulations on another successful year, playing the role of successful CEO. People complimented the venue, the decor, the atmosphere. Everyone seemed excited. My family arrived at 7:20, fashionably late. My mother wore a floor-length silver gown that probably cost $2,000 they absolutely couldn't afford. Her jewelry was impressive, diamond earrings, a sapphire necklace. Her hair and makeup were professionally done. She looked elegant and expensive and like someone trying very hard to appear as though nothing was wrong in her life. My father wore a tuxedo that didn't quite fit anymore. He'd lost weight from stress, and the jacket hung a bit loose on his shoulders. But he'd clearly tried. Cufflinks, pocket square, patent leather shoes. He looked uncomfortable but presentable. Marcus and Vanessa were, as always, impeccably dressed. Marcus in a perfectly tailored Armani tux. Vanessa in a red designer gown that probably cost more than a month of my old salary. They looked like they were walking a red carpet. They looked like people who belonged at elegant events. They approached me with smiles that didn't quite reach their eyes. "This is quite the event," my father said, looking around with grudging approval. "You've done well for yourself." "Thank you," I said neutrally. My mother leaned in to hug me. I allowed it stiffly. "Everything looks beautiful. You must be so proud." "I am." "Where should we sit?" Marcus asked, scanning the room. "Your table is right up front," I said, gesturing toward the prominent table directly in front of the stage. "Best view in the house." A small placard on the table read, VIP. My mother beamed. VIP, how lovely. They didn't notice that they were the only ones at a table meant for 10. Every other table in the room was full or nearly full. Theirs had 4 place settings, 4 chairs, and 6 empty spaces. They didn't notice that it was positioned in the exact center of the room's sightlines from the stage. Perfectly placed, isolated, exposed. They didn't notice that the lighting above their table was slightly different from other tables. Pre-positioned spotlights that were currently off but ready. They didn't notice a lot of things. "The best seats for the best family," my father said, not entirely without sarcasm, but accepting nonetheless. Vanessa whispered something to Marcus. He nodded, and they headed toward the table. I excused myself to greet other guests, clients, partners, employees, industry colleagues. I shook hands and made small talk, and smiled and played my role perfectly. But I kept watching my family out of the corner of my eye. They sat at their isolated VIP table, looking around at the crowd, occasionally waving at people they didn't actually know. My mother snapped photos of the centerpiece, the room, herself, and my father. Marcus scrolled through his phone. Vanessa reapplied lipstick. They looked confident, comfortable, like people who belonged there, like people who were about to have their problems solved. Cocktail hour ended at 8. Dinner service began promptly. 5 courses of excellent food prepared by one of the city's best chefs, seared scallops with cauliflower puree, butter-poached lobster, Wagyu beef with truffle mashed potatoes, a palate cleanser of champagne sorbet. Finally, a dark chocolate mousse with raspberry coulis. The food was extraordinary. The wine pairings were perfect. People at other tables were clearly enjoying themselves, talking and laughing and building connections. At the VIP table, my family ate quietly, conserving their energy for what they assumed was coming. Between the final course and dessert, the lights dimmed slightly, a signal that the formal program was beginning. Our MC, David Chen, took the stage to applause. David was a professional host we'd hired for the past 3 years. He knew how to work a room, how to keep energy high, how to make transitions smooth. "Good evening, everyone," he said warmly. "I hope you're all enjoying this incredible meal. Let's give another round of applause to Chef Martinez and his team." The room applauded. Staff peeked out from the kitchen entrance and waved. "We're about to begin our awards ceremony," David continued. "This is the 6th annual gala, and every year we take time to recognize the extraordinary people who make this company what it is. People who embody our values of innovation, integrity, and dedication." He went through the standard awards first. Innovation Award went to our senior product designer, who'd redesigned our entire user interface and increased user satisfaction by 40%. She came up, said a few words about collaborative creativity, posed for photos. Partnership of the Year went to one of our longest-standing clients, a company that had been with us since year 2 and had grown alongside us. Their CEO gave a short speech about mutual success. Employee Excellence Awards went to 3 team members who'd gone above and beyond in different ways. Each came up, was celebrated, received their award. The room remained engaged but relaxed, standard corporate ceremony stuff. People clapped at the appropriate times, checked their phones occasionally, sipped their wine. My family sat at their VIP table, watching patiently, waiting for the real announcement. Then David's tone shifted. "And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite your CEO to the stage for a special presentation." The room applauded as I walked to the podium. Good, strong applause. I'd earned respect in this industry. These people knew me as someone who'd built something real, someone who'd created jobs and value and opportunities. I stood at the podium and looked out at 300 faces watching me expectantly. I could see my family at their front row table, my mother sitting up straighter, adjusting her hair, my father leaning forward slightly, Marcus and Vanessa exchanging a look. This was it, the moment they'd been waiting for. I took a breath and began. "Thank you all for being here tonight. 6 years ago, I started this company with nothing but an idea and an unreasonable belief in myself. I had no funding, no connections, no safety net. What I had was necessity. I had to succeed because failure wasn't an option. I had no one to fall back on." The room was silent, attentive. Tonight, I want to talk about resilience, about what it means to rise above, about what happens when the people closest to you decide you're not good enough, when they exclude you from their lives because you don't meet their standards of success. I could see my family starting to shift uncomfortably in their seats, starting to sense that this might not be going where they expected. Some of you know that I didn't come from money. I didn't have connections or advantages. What I had were people who told me I wasn't good enough, who excluded me from important family moments because they were ashamed of me, who made me feel like my presence would embarrass them. My mother's face was going pale. Marcus was looking around nervously, as if searching for an exit. Those people taught me something valuable. They taught me that real success isn't about appearances. It's not about designer clothes or expensive cars or curated social media lives. It's about building something meaningful, creating actual value, earning respect through action, not through performance. My father's hands were gripping the edge of the table. Tonight, I want to honor the people who motivated me most, the people who pushed me to prove them wrong, the people who rejected me so thoroughly that I had no choice but to succeed on my own terms. I turned slightly and nodded to David and the AV team. The main chandeliers dimmed to nothing. For exactly 2 seconds, the ballroom was completely dark, except for the glow of the screens behind me. Then the spotlights snapped on. 3 powerful beams of pure white light converged on the VIP table, bathing my family in harsh, inescapable illumination. The contrast was dramatic. Everything else in shadow, them lit up like specimens under a microscope. Simultaneously, both massive screens behind me displayed the same text in bold white letters against a black background. "For those who used to laugh at me." The room went absolutely silent. Not the polite silence of an attentive audience, but the shocked silence of people processing something unexpected and uncomfortable. It lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then the whispers started. "Oh my God! Is that his family? What is happening?" Heads turned. People leaned toward each other, murmuring, some gasps, some uncomfortable laughter from people who weren't sure if this was serious or some kind of elaborate joke. It was deadly serious. The camera feeds we used for broadcasting award presentations picked up my family perfectly. Their stunned, horrified faces were now projected on smaller screens positioned around the ballroom, so everyone had a clear view. My mother's mouth opened and closed wordlessly, like a fish gasping for air. My father's face flushed deep red, whether from anger or embarrassment or both. Marcus and Vanessa looked at each other in pure panic, the kind of look people exchange when they realize they're trapped. I let the moment breathe, let it stretch out, 5 seconds, 10, 15. Let everyone in the room really see them. Let 300 pairs of eyes take in this moment. Let the humiliation sink in. Then I continued speaking, my voice calm and measured, almost conversational. The people at that table taught me about conditional love, about how family can mean absolutely nothing when you don't serve their image, about how quickly pride and shame can blind people to what actually matters. My mother tried to stand. She got halfway up, then realized that running would only make this worse. The spotlight followed her movement. She sat back down hard, trapped. 6 years ago, I wasn't invited to my own brother's wedding. Let me say that again for clarity. My only sibling got married, and I wasn't invited. Not because of a fight, not because of distance or conflict, but because, in his exact words, I would make them look poor. Real gasps now, shocked murmurs. This wasn't corporate theater anymore. This was deeply personal drama playing out in real time. Those words, made them look poor. As if my presence, my existence, was something shameful, something to be hidden, something that would ruin the carefully curated aesthetic of their perfect day. I pulled out my phone and brought up that photo I'd saved. The photo from Marcus's wedding. The family table with the empty chair. This, I said, and the image appeared on the screens behind me, is the family table from that wedding. 200 people celebrated with them that day, but not me. That empty chair, that could have been mine. Should have been mine. But I wasn't good enough, wasn't presentable enough, would have damaged their image. The photo on the screens was devastating in its simplicity. A festive family table, everyone smiling and elegant, and that one empty chair with its full place setting. Vanessa was crying now, mascara starting to run down her carefully made-up face. I built this company in the shadow of that rejection, I continued. Every late night, every failure, every small victory. I did it knowing that the people who should have supported me had decided I wasn't worth a seat at their table, that I was an embarrassment, a liability, something to be ashamed of. Marcus stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. This is ridiculous. We don't have to sit here and listen to this. His voice carried perfectly in the silent room. The microphones caught every word. You're absolutely right, I said calmly. You don't have to listen. You're welcome to leave at any time, but you should probably hear the rest first, since you came here expecting something from me. He froze, half standing, caught between fight and flight. My father found his voice, loud and angry. We came here in good faith. You invited us. You said you wanted to help. I invited you to show you what you missed out on, I replied evenly. To let you see exactly what I built without you, in spite of you, because of you, actually. You taught me that I couldn't depend on family, that I had to be completely self-sufficient. And you know what? That lesson, as painful as it was, turned out to be valuable. So thank you. The room was riveted now. This was better than any scripted drama. This was real. Some people only call you family when they need something, I said, when their own failures catch up to them and they're drowning in consequences. Then suddenly it's all about family bonds and blood being thicker than water and obligations and how we're supposed to stick together. My mother's hands were shaking. She was still holding her phone, probably wanting desperately to check it or escape into it, but knowing that would look even worse. For 6 years, I received exactly 0 phone calls from anyone at that table. 0 congratulations when my company succeeded. 0 acknowledgments of any kind. Complete silence. Because I was an embarrassment. Because successful people like them don't associate with failures like me. I paused, took a sip of water, let that sink in. But then something interesting happened. Their business collapsed. Poor management, poor decisions, poor planning, all the consequences of caring more about appearance than substance. And suddenly, after 6 years of silence, I started getting messages. Urgent messages about family matters, about opportunities for investment, about how family has to stick together. The audience was completely silent. You could hear people breathing. Tonight's VIPs taught me everything about who I never want to be. They taught me that character matters infinitely more than appearance, that real success is earned through competence and integrity, not performed through expensive clothes and strategic networking, that the people worth having in your life are the ones who stand by you when you have nothing to offer, not the ones who show up when you have everything to give. I looked directly at my family for the first time since the lights came up. My mother's carefully applied makeup was smudged from tears. She was trying not to cry. My father looked 10 years older than he had an hour ago. Marcus and Vanessa looked like they wanted the floor to open up and swallow them. You wanted to know what my announcement would be, I said. What important thing I had to say that required you all to be here. Here it is. I let the moment hang. I'm announcing that I owe you nothing, that your failures are not my responsibility, that the desperate messages asking for money, for investment, for salvation based on family obligation, They're all denied. My mother made a sound like a wounded animal, a choked sob that the microphones caught and broadcast to the entire room. I'm announcing that I've built a life I'm genuinely proud of, surrounded by people who value me for who I am, not for what I can do for them. People in this room tonight who've supported me, believed in me, worked alongside me to build something real. Spontaneous applause started from somewhere in the back. One person clapping, then another, then more. Not everyone. Some people looked uncomfortable, shocked by the harshness of what they were witnessing, but enough people that the sound built and filled the ballroom. And I'm announcing, I said over the growing applause, that you're all officially uninvited from my life, just like I was uninvited from yours. You wanted me out of your perfect picture 6 years ago. Now I'm returning the favor. The applause grew stronger. Not universal, but significant. People standing now. My employees, several clients, industry colleagues who'd watched me build this company from nothing. My family sat in their spotlight, trapped, humiliated, powerless. The spotlights and screen display shut off. The regular lighting came back up. I stepped away from the podium as the applause continued. I walked off the stage and down the steps, my path taking me directly past the VIP table where my family still sat frozen. My mother reached out as I passed, her hand catching my sleeve. Please, we can talk about this. We can fix this. Just give us a chance. I gently removed my arm from her grip and kept walking without stopping. Didn't look back, didn't pause. My father stood up, his voice loud and angry. You self-righteous little... Sir, a security guard said smoothly, appearing at his elbow as if by magic. I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice and return to your seat. I will not... Sir, please, don't make this more difficult. Marcus stepped into my path, blocking me. His face was red, his jaw clenched. You think you're better than us? You think this makes you look good? Everyone just saw you humiliate your own family in front of hundreds of people. You think that makes you the hero? I looked at him calmly. I think this makes us even. You made a very public statement about my worth 6 years ago when you excluded me from your wedding. When you told everyone I wasn't good enough to be seen, I'm just returning the favor. Same energy, as they say. We're your family. No, I said quietly. You're the people who taught me that DNA doesn't automatically mean anything. That real family is chosen, earned, built on mutual respect and unconditional support. You're the people who laughed at me when I had nothing and came running when you needed everything, and now you're the people who'll have to figure out your own problems. I moved past him. 2 more security guards in dark suits appeared, flanking the table. Folks, one of them said politely but very firmly, I'm going to have to ask you to gather your belongings and come with us. This is outrageous, my father sputtered. We were invited. This is entrapment. You were invited, and now you're being asked to leave. Please don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. He can't do this, my father insisted. This is public humiliation. This is... Sir, you have 2 options. You can leave quietly with us right now, or we can call the police and have you removed for trespassing and disturbing a private event. Your choice. My mother stood up shakily, gathering her clutch purse. Let's just go, please. Let's go. Vanessa was already moving toward the exit, her face buried in her hands. Marcus followed her, shooting one last venomous look at me over his shoulder. My father lingered for a moment, looking like he wanted to say something else, make one more scene, assert his authority somehow, but he had no authority here, no leverage, no cards left to play. He turned and followed the security guards toward the exit. I didn't watch them leave. I returned to the ballroom where the program was continuing smoothly. David had already moved on to the next segment, a light-hearted video montage of company moments from the past year. The mood was gradually shifting back toward celebration. People approached me cautiously. Sarah reached me first. Are you okay? Yeah. That was... She searched for words. Intense. It needed to be. Some people are uncomfortable. Some people should be. What I described was uncomfortable. She nodded slowly. For what it's worth, a lot of people came up to me already and said they respected what you did, that they've had similar experiences with family who didn't support them. That's not why I did it. I know, but it matters anyway. Several employees approached next. My CTO, my head of sales, a couple of senior developers. Boss, my CTO said, that took guts. Or a serious lack of judgment, I replied. No, that was someone standing up for themselves. That was someone refusing to be treated like they don't matter. We respect that. Others echoed similar sentiments. Not everyone. I saw some people clearly uncomfortable with what they'd witnessed, probably worried about whether I was stable, whether this suggested poor judgment that might affect the company. But enough people understood. Enough people had their own stories of family rejection or conditional love or being told they weren't good enough. A client I'd worked with for 3 years pulled me aside. "My father didn't talk to me for 5 years because I didn't take over his business," he said quietly. "I get it. Not everyone will, but I do." The evening continued. The band started playing. People moved to the bar. Conversations resumed. The energy in the room gradually returned to something approaching normal. But I knew this would be the story everyone remembered. Not the awards, or the food, or the music. The story of the VIP table, the spotlight, the public confrontation, the family being escorted out. I stepped out onto the balcony overlooking the city. The air was cool, the sounds of the party muffled behind me. I could see lights spreading out for miles, thousands of people living their lives, none of them aware of or caring about what had just happened in this ballroom. Sarah found me there about 20 minutes later. "You disappeared," she said. "Needed air." "Understandable." She stood next to me, looking out at the view. "That was brutal. You know that, right?" "Yes. Do you feel better?" I considered the question honestly. Really thought about it. "No, not really, but I feel finished. Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense. Closure." "They'll never acknowledge what they did wrong," I said. "They'll tell everyone their version. That I'm cruel and vindictive and ungrateful. That I humiliated them for no reason. They'll be the victims in their story." "Probably. But I'll know the truth, and so will everyone who was in that room tonight." "For what it's worth," Sarah said carefully, "I think some people thought you went too far, but a lot of people related to it. You'd be surprised how many successful people have families who didn't believe in them, who made them feel worthless." I sipped my drink, thinking about that empty chair at the wedding. I didn't do it for them to relate. I did it because I needed them to feel what I felt. Just once. Just for one moment. To sit in that spotlight and know that everyone is judging them, finding them inadequate, deciding they're not good enough. Mission accomplished. We stood in silence for a while. The city hummed below us. The party continued behind us. Life went on. "What happens now?" Sarah asked. "Now? Now I go back to building my company, living my life, surrounding myself with people who actually give a damn about me as a person, not as a resource to be exploited." "No regrets?" I thought about it, really truly thought about it, about whether I'd gone too far, whether I'd crossed a line, whether I'd damaged myself or my company or my soul with what I'd just done. "Respect isn't owed," I finally said. "It's earned. They taught me that lesson 6 years ago. Tonight, I taught it back. If that makes me cruel, so be it. But I refuse to pretend that family obligations supersede basic human decency. They didn't treat me with decency, so they don't get to demand it from me now." Sarah smiled slightly. "Come on. Your employees want to toast you. Try to enjoy the rest of your night." I followed her back inside, back to the celebration, back to the life I'd built without them. The party continued for hours. The band played, people danced, drinks flowed, laughter echoed through the ballroom. It was a genuinely good event, despite, or perhaps because of, the dramatic interlude. Around midnight, as things were winding down, several board members approached me. "That was quite a moment tonight," one of them said diplomatically. "Yes. Some might say inappropriate for a company event. Some might. But others might say it was the most honest demonstration of company values we've ever seen. Integrity, authenticity, standing up for yourself, not being defined by others' limitations." I looked at them carefully. "Which camp are you in?" "The latter," he said firmly. "What you did took courage. Not everyone will appreciate it, but the right people will." The next morning, I woke up to dozens of messages, some from employees expressing support, some from clients saying they respected what I'd done, some from journalists asking for interviews about the dramatic gala moment, and 3 messages from my family. My mother. "How could you do that to us? After everything we've been through, you humiliated us in front of everyone. Everyone. Do you have any idea what this will do to us? How are we supposed to show our faces anywhere? You've destroyed us." My father. "You're dead to me. Don't ever contact this family again. You're a disgrace." Marcus. "Congratulations, you got your revenge. Hope it was worth it. Hope you enjoy your success knowing you kicked your family when they were down. Real classy." I read them all carefully. Felt a twinge of something, not quite guilt, but a recognition of finality. This was it. The bridge was burned. There was no coming back from this. I deleted all 3 messages and blocked their numbers. Then I got dressed and went to the office. Life continued. The company continued. The gala became a story that people told, that circulated in industry circles, that became part of my professional legend. Some people thought I'd been too harsh, too cruel, too public with family business. Others understood completely, saw it as justice, as a powerful statement about boundaries and self-worth and refusing to be diminished. I didn't particularly care which camp people fell into. I'd said what I needed to say, done what I needed to do, closed a chapter that had been open and bleeding for 6 years. My family never contacted me again, and I never contacted them. I don't know what happened to my father's business, though I assume bankruptcy eventually came. I don't know if they lost their house, though the foreclosure notices suggested they would. I don't know how they rebuilt their lives, or if they even did. I don't know because I chose not to know. Chose to let them fade into the past where they belonged. What I do know is this. I built a company that now employs over 200 people. A company that creates real value, solves real problems, and treats people with genuine respect. I'm surrounded by colleagues who became friends, employees who became family, the chosen kind, built on mutual appreciation and support. I never again felt the need to prove myself to people who'd already decided I wasn't good enough. And whenever I'm tempted to doubt myself, I think about that night, about standing on that stage in front of 300 people and telling the truth about rejection and resilience and rising above people who tried to keep me down. Some people thought it was revenge. Maybe it was, but it was also liberation. The empty chair at that wedding haunted me for years. It represented everything I wasn't in their eyes, every way I fell short, every reason I wasn't good enough. The VIP table at my gala represented something different. It represented accountability, justice, the natural consequences of treating people as disposable. Respect isn't owed, it's earned. They taught me that, I just taught it back, and I'd do it again.